اليقين فصلوات ربي وسلامه عليه. عباد الله، أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله عز وجل. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. It's indeed the blessing and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be given another chance to witness Yawm al-Jummah. And in these few moments together, we will try to touch on very important subject. We need this reminder we need to know what are our obligations and responsibilities. And the ulamas have divided this in 3 different types of responsibilities. The first one, and the most important one, is our responsibility toward following the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يقول الحق عز وجل: وما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون. The reason that we are created, our purpose and responsibility is to follow the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the ulamas and the scholars elaborated on the word liya'budun, beyond what we know as artificial meaning, beyond just praying and fasting and going to Hajj and paying zakah. After we declare there is La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Our life, the way we interact with our families, with people around us, should be governed by this ayah. My conduct and my dealing with people closer to me, people in my community and the community at large, should be based on the guidance that we have received in this great message of Islam. So that's the first type. If we fail at this responsibility, if we cut corners, if we don't worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way that He should be worshipped, then we need to pay attention and we need to understand Surah Al-Asr. Wal-Asr. إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. That's our guidance. Iman and work and encouraging one another to do the right thing. The second level of responsibility comes with your loved ones, with your family, with your parents, with your siblings and relatives. يقول الحق سبحانه وتعالى: يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا. O you who believe, protect yourself and your loved ones from the hellfire. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes what is it all about. وقودها الناس والحجارة. The fuel of the hellfire, it's nothing but the disbelievers and the rocks. The intensity of this fire beyond our comprehension. And the punishment is beyond what we can imagine. And who is responsible for managing this project? For making sure the disbelievers who are in the hellfire suffer the most. عليها ملائكة غلاظ شداد لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون. The ones in charge of making sure the ones who are in the hellfire deserve to be punished are nothing short of angels. They follow the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No mercy for the ones who are dwelling in the hellfire. That's why our responsibility to our loved ones and family is extremely important after we make sure we are following the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. None of us here want their siblings or their kids or their parents or their loved ones to dwell in the hellfire. This is the time to save them. Give nasiha, be a good example. That's our responsibility. And the third responsibility is our responsibility toward the community, toward the Jummah, toward the community in Irving, in Texas, in the USA, and the world at large. Yes, we're responsible for that too. Muslim's life, it's not a selfish one. And you heard me say that before, and if you didn't, I'll say it. And if you heard me, excuse me for repeating it. But throughout my travel in this country, I ask my brothers, why are you in America? Why do you think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought you here to Irving, Texas? Not your neighbors, not your cousins, not your friends back home. You think it's to live comfortably and make money and just be selfish? Or do you have a higher purpose? I think it's the latter. First of all, we have to call people to Islam. We have to be good examples. This is not my opinion. This is the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يقول الحق عز وجل ولتكن منكم أمة يدعون إلى الخير ويأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر. That's your message in Irving, Texas. That's your message in America. To call people to Islam. And when you see something wrong, you stand up and say something. كما قال الحبيب المصطفى صلوات ربي وسلامه عليه إذا رأى أحدكم منكرا فليغيره بيده. If you see some munkar, if you see something wrong, change it with your hand if you can. فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه. If you can't do that, at least say the right thing. Don't be quiet. During my years here in America, in the last 47 years, I have seen so many changes. And some are detrimental to the children, to the family, to God-fearing people. And yet, so many people are just sitting, being idle and quiet. when I was asked to look at the Texas education standards and how they're guiding the teachers to teach our children in the public schools. The damage they are planning and the nonsense they want our children to be exposed to is beyond your comprehension. So that's our responsibility, to stand up, be counted, get involved. We had these discussions since the early 80s, when the number of Masjid just exploded in this country. Some people are absolutely against any kind of civic engagement. Some people even went as far to say it is forbidden and haram for us to be involved in the political process. And it was a long struggle. But now we see so many people in government, local, the state, the federal government. Muslims are coming forward because we have something to offer to fix the ills of this country and to fix what's wrong. Not long ago, the Supreme Court passed a law. Now it's the law of the land. For a man to marry a man and a woman to marry a woman, and for them to adopt children and be legally recognized as parents. This is something that we cannot sit idle and watch. If you recall, after a long battle and after years and years of struggle, Roe versus Wade was overturned, making abortion illegal. If it's the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the law for the homosexuals to be equal like everybody else will change in the future, then we need to be part of that change. يقول الحق سبحانه وتعالى وتعاونوا على البر والتقوى ولا تعاونوا على الإثم والعدوان إن الله شديد العقاب. Yeah, we put our hands, we establish strategic partnerships with people who think like we do on certain subjects, and certain matters important to the Muslim communities. I have seen it over the years when I was a board member at INT, and I've seen it in the different organizations. We make this horrible mistake by inviting anyone before elections to our Masjid to speak to the Jummah and solicit their vote. You know what the Jews do? Before they invite anyone, they have a strategic planning committee. They develop a political platform. And then they measure the candidates against where they stand. If they are matching their needs and desires, they're invited to the synagogue to speak to their people. And I think that's the approach that we need to take. Alhamdulillah, we have so many scholars. Our communities are blessed with so many intelligent people. What's wrong with coming with our own political platform on issues that are important to us as Muslims? And this is how we'll gauge any candidate who will come to the office, ask him for permission to stand up and address the Jama'ah. We need to be smart about giving access to people. Muslim communities, we are too nice, too naive. My good brother and yours, Mustafa Carroll, civil rights activist. I worked with him very closely. He always said, don't let the FBI come to your house because we say, oh, I have nothing to hide. I'm a good person. Don't do that, he said. Go talk to them in their office. We are too nice. We invite people in. We open our books. That's how we get into trouble. So once again, you need to reevaluate your responsibility toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, and your family, and your loved ones, and then toward your community. Here in the Masjid and at large. We have very few options, and we discussed this since the 80s. Either to stay away and don't get involved in any kind of political action and suffer the consequences. Again, my dear brother Mustafa Carroll, because of the African American struggles over the year, they learned the hard way. He said, if you're not at the table, meaning if you're not part of the discussion, you will become dinner. Think about that. Others will pass laws, do certain things, and we will be complaining afterward. Where were we? How come we're not involved? And it's an obligation upon us to uplift the rest of the society. And I'm so proud of this particular Jummah. They're very active, mashallah. I followed you over the years. When the city tries to have alcohol zoned areas, and you stood up and you said no. The volunteers in these organizations are so dedicated to providing a positive image about Islam. This is one of the reasons you're here in Irving, Texas. It's not just to sit home and count your money. You have a responsibility toward Islam. The other option we have is to back up our stuff and leave. 99% of us would not do that. So the better and smarter option is to get involved. Educate yourself about what's going on in Irving, what's going on in Texas, what's going on in America, and voice your opinion. Don't be afraid. You have constitutional rights like everybody else. It's up to us to act upon this privilege. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه فيا فوز المستغفرين. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوب إليه. For too long, Muslim community has lived in a bubble, totally isolated from the outside world. But after September 11th, things have changed. Whether we like it or not, we are under the microscope. After September 11th, when I was serving on the board of directors at INT, we received an interesting but strange request from the Kiwanis Club, civic organization. They were discussing Judeo-Christian values and how do Muslims fit in. Allahu Akbar. In other words, do you belong in this society or should you back up and leave? They didn't say that, but that's the intention. So I spoke to Dr. Yusuf Kabakshi, mashallah, a great scholar. I said, Sheikh Yusuf, what should we do? He said, how much time they give you? I said, they're giving me 20 minutes to make a presentation. He said, you don't need more than 10 minutes. I said, really? He said, yes. And he helped me to prepare a one-page slide. We took the 10 Commandments because that's what Judeo-Christians is all about. And we put a corresponding ayah to each one, or more than one ayah. And went there with Brother Sulaiman from INT. After 10 minutes of going through the slide, we asked him a simple question. For a people who believed in the message of Moses and Isa and followed the 10 Commandments, are we a threat to you? We don't belong here? Their jaws dropped. They have never heard that before. Muslims believe in the 10 Commandments. They follow the 10 Commandments. And one of the attendees or the organizer is a rabbi. And I said to myself, this is my chance. I said, the title of this symposium, Judeo-Christian Values. I said, you need to throw away the word Judeo and put Muslim Christian values. Because we as Muslims believe in Sayyidina Isa as a messenger. And this rabbi who is representing the Jewish faith, they don't believe in Jesus. Ask him. How can you base an alliance and a fake concept called Judeo-Christians while the other side doesn't even believe in your messenger? You know what this rabbi did? He got up and left. And they have never invited us to any meetings after that. It's obvious because they had a plan, they had an agenda. This is what we need to do. We need to be smart. I have worked with Mabel, Muslim Alliance for Black Lives, and we developed a great strategic plan. And currently I'm working with so many organizations. ICI is one of them, INT, the Masjid in DeSoto, BHA, and so many other organizations. They have decided we need to have strategic plan. We can't just get involved in any kind of civic activities without knowing what are we doing. That's the smart way to go about it. And I'm going to call on you, brothers and sisters, who are capable and smart and gifted to come forward and be part of this great endeavor to set the future for our kids and our grandkids. Remember قول الحق عز وجل إن الله لا يغير ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم. Our condition would always be the same unless we change from within. This is a very important subject, and it needs a lot more time to go over the intricate details. But if you leave here with one thing and one thing only, strengthen your relationship and your responsibility toward Allah Azza wa Jal. If you're not praying nafil on a regular basis, pray nafil. If you're not getting up in the middle of the night to pray 2 rak'ahs, get up in the middle of the night and pray 2 rak'ahs. If you're not fasting Mondays and Thursdays, at least start. Strengthen your iman. Be conscious of your responsibility toward Allah Azza wa Jal. Second of all, as you provide housing and food and shelter for your family and your kids, provide them the spiritual guidance and be an example. That's your responsibility. Brothers, when you come home from work and you're tired, if the dinner is not quite ready, don't lose it. Because the sister has been working very hard at home, making sure that you have a happy house. You need to be mindful of that. Equally, the sisters should not be so demanding and asking the husbands to do more and more and more and go beyond their means. I've seen so many people get into debt because they couldn't control the impulse of just buying anything at sight. And lastly, don't just sit on your hands. There are elections tomorrow. If you cannot participate, at least make dua for our community to benefit the most from the results of these elections. And to have people on the local and the state and the federal level that will make it possible for us to continue the work of La ilaha illallah. That's what's important, brothers. This is the reason you're in Irving. Trust me, it's not to make money only and live comfortable. Yes, you do that. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the wisdom and an ability to act in a way that's benefit Islam. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the wisdom and the ability to understand our responsibilities. And I ask Him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make it possible for us to do our work only for His sake. No riyah, no showing off. When you are in a position of responsibility, it's not a title. Now you got to work and deliver. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت وسلمت وباركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وآل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصر المرابطين في الأقصى يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصرهم على أعدائك أعداء الدين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم احفظنا واحفظ أزواجنا وأولادنا وبناتنا من الشرك يا رب العالمين. اللهم ردنا إلى دينك ردا جميلا. اللهم احفظنا واحرسنا بعينك التي لا تنام يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم اشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا وموتى المسلمين. اللهم اشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا وموتى المسلمين. عباد الله، إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. وقم الصلاة.